Yo, what's good people, it's JayCactus, and in today's video I'm continuing my sound design series. So in the first episode I showed you how to create hard hitting 808s from scratch using stock plugins. So if you haven't seen it already, definitely check that one out. But in this video I'm going to show you how to create a hard hitting kick from scratch. The type of kicks that I'm going to be creating today are hard hitting kicks for trap and drill beats. So I'm going to show you how to design them and then how to process them and get them prepared for your own drum kit. So let's get into it. Alright, so there's a lot of different ways you can design kicks from scratch, but I'm going to try and keep it real simple for you. I'll start off using Serum, which is what I usually use to create my own drums, and then I'll show you how to do the same thing in stock plugins. So I'll show you how to do it in Citrus. So the type of kicks that we're going to be making are like this. So this is from the new kit, the Prick Kit Volume 2. There's a lot of hard hitting kicks in there. Some real punchy ones. So they've all got different tones, they're all quite punchy. So that's what I'm working on in the kit. There's like 20 kicks, 20 808s, there's going to be 20 claps, 20 effects, everything. The kit's going to be crazy. But just to start off with, I'm going to pull up Serum. If you're new to Serum, try not to get too confused. I know there's a lot of things you can tweak, but we're not going to be using all of the parameters, and I'll try to explain it real simple for you. So what you want to focus on first is the oscillator. The oscillator is basically a sound generator, and you can see that you've got two here. The second one is off. So you'd use the second one if you were going to layer sounds, but for this one, we just want one oscillator. And we want to use a sine wave because kicks usually start from a sine wave, which is basically like the purest sound. So to get a sine wave, I'm just going to click in here, go to analog, and then analog BD sine. You've probably heard what a sine wave sounds like, but it's just a real basic tone. So now from here, we want to shape out the sound that we want. And to do that, we're going to use an envelope. So this is a kick that I use in quite a lot of my beats. You can see that it's been pushed to the max, but for drill beats, I kind of like that sound. So we're going to try and emulate something like that. So in Serum, you can either adjust the dials here, or you can grab the points and create the shape you want. So for a kick, you want quite a fast attack. So I can leave it on 0.5 for now. And I'm just going to drag this point down. So you can hear it's a similar process to 808 sound designs, but obviously a kick is going to be real shorter. So the release, I'm just going to turn that all the way down. And the decay, this is going to determine basically how long you want the kick to be. If it's all the way up, we don't want it like that, so we just want it real short. About there is fine. And if you wanted to, you could increase the hold a little bit. And then the decay a bit further down. Let's just go with that for now, and then we can always adjust it further down the line. So to turn this quick sine wave into a kick, we need to adjust the pitch over time. So we basically need this sine wave to start at a high pitch and then go to a low pitch, but in a fast movement. And to do that, we're using an LFO, which is a low frequency oscillator. So it kind of works like an oscillator up here, which is the sine wave that we're using, but the low frequency oscillator is so low that you can't hear it, but you can use it to adjust certain things like the pitch. So all I've done here is just dragged this end to the top, and then I'm going to bring this down and get a similar shape to the kick. About there for now. I'm going to turn on envelope just so it's acting as an envelope, and then I'm going to drag this up to the pitch of the sine wave. So it's this CRS, this coarse pitch. So I'm bringing this up here, and now you can see that the blue lights are on, which basically means it's been activated. So now if I press something, you can hear it's bringing the pitch down real quick. So now we need to adjust a couple things. The first thing that I'm going to do is hold Alt and Shift and then click this button here. That just means it's just going to be in one movement rather than going back and forth. I'm also going to bring the octave down because the kick's quite low. I'll bring it down 2. Now it's starting to sound a bit more like a kick. So this little blue button here, if I drag this down, you can see that this line starts to move. So if this is high up, it's going from a real high pitch down to a low pitch. But if I bring it down here, there's not going to be much movement in pitch. So you just want to adjust these settings until you get the sound of the kick that you want. And then I'm also going to bring the actual pitch down. I'm going to make the kick a little bit shorter. The next thing that we can take a look at is the noise. So usually in a kick, you can break it down into 3 parts. You'll start off with a click, which is basically the high frequencies of the kick. And then you'll get the middle bit of the kick, which is like the punch or the body. And then you get the low bit at the end, which is the tail. And that's basically how you determine the tone of the kick. But for this one, I don't want much of a tail, but we can try some noise. So I'm just going to activate the noise, click in here, and then go to the attacks kick. And these are like little kick click samples that you can add to the start of your kick. A lot of them are EDM sounding, so you can have a flick through and see which one you like the sound of. But I'm also going to drag this LFO to the level of the noise. And now you can see it's done the same thing like we did with the coarse pitch. So now this LFO is going to adjust the level or the volume of the noise every time I press a key. And I want to do the same thing as before and hold Alt and Shift and then click on this dial here. And now it's only going to move in one motion. So same thing again, you can bring the level up and then it's going to start quite high and go low, or you could bring it right down. I only want a tiny bit of click. I'd set the level and the LFO right and then go through the click noises to find one that you like. Kick click 17 sounds alright. And usually in drill kicks and trap kicks, you don't actually need noise on it, but that can help it cut through phones and laptop speakers a bit easier. But what I like to do is then activate a filter. A filter is basically like an EQ. If I turn this on, you can see that it's already on for the oscillator A, because that's turned on. We don't need B, because we're not using another sine wave or another oscillator, but I do want it on for the noise. So if I turn it on for the noise, the filter is going to work on the sine wave and the noise now. So I just want to cut out a bit more high energy, just because I want the kick to be quite deep. So I'm going to move this cutoff up. You see how you can hear that click now if I move it down? About there's alright. And then I just want to drive it up as well. Now it's starting to get a bit beefier. So now if you're liking the shape and the sound of your kick, you can start applying effects. In Serum, you do have effects here like distortion, flanger, EQ and everything, but I like to use my own effects. But there is one in distortion that I like. So I'm just going to activate the distortion. I kind of like the sound of this distortion, but I want to reduce the mix. Just a little bit of it. And then to add your own effects, you could either record the kick into Edison and then export it, or you could just apply them straight to Serum. So for this one, I'm going to export it to Edison. I'm going to press Shift and E just to open Edison. I'm going to set this to on input, turn that off. And now when I hit a key, you can see we've got some kicks. So I'm just going to grab one, make sure I'm getting it from the start. Don't need any extras at the end. And then I can drag this in here. Now, if you take a look at the shape of the first one, you can see that it's been pushed to the max. And this one, it still has some processing to do. So I'm going to assign it to a mixer channel. And then on the mixer channel, I'm going to add a soft clipper. I like the classic clipper. I just like to bring down the slope a little bit. And this is just so it doesn't clip on the master. But I still like the sound that a soft clipper gives. So what a lot of people will do is just increase the boost here. So I've just gone to pre-computed effects and then adjusted the boost. So you can see that's the kind of shape that I went for in the previous one. Now it's a real hard hitting kick. But I'm not going to boost it too much yet because I do want to do some more processing and show you some different techniques. And then the first thing I'm going to do is an EQ. Now in the EQ, each kick is going to be different, but there are some kind of go-to numbers that you can focus on. So I like to take off some of the real lows, which you don't really need in a kick. So if I play it, you could do everything under like 25 Hertz, but I think about there is fine. Just a gentle roll off. I know around about 120 is where you get a nice punch. About there's fine. And then around 350 is where you tend to get some mud. So I'm just going to cut that a little bit. You could even boost the low as well. And then if you wanted to boost the high or filter it off, you could do. About there's fine. Now, I already used some distortion in Serum, but I do like the sound of fruity fast distortion, but I don't like too much. That's with it full, but I want to bring the threshold down a little bit just so I'm affecting less of the kick. And then I also want to bring the mix down too. Just a bit more distortion. So this is without, this is with. You can hear that it just adds a little bit more grit. Another plugin you can try is Fruity Wave Shaper. You can either go through the presets or you can just drag this up. You can get a real crunchy sound. You can even double it up with the fast distortion. So you could do that and then add another EQ at the end just to roll off some of that high energy it's created. It just depends on the vibe you're going for, but I think I like the sound just with fast distortion. And then if you want an even punchier kick, you can pull up a transient processor. And what this does is going to increase the attack of the transient. So it's going to like punch real quick. So if I turn it up full, and then low, you can see it's less punchy. And then the release, if you shorten this, it's just going to shorten the kick basically. And make it nice and punchy. So I like the sound of this, but I want to decrease the fast distortion just a little bit. Now you could also apply a compressor as well just to make it a little bit louder. If you're going to add a compressor to a kick, then make sure you leave the attack up. If the attack is all the way down, then the compressor is going to kick in straight away and you're going to lose some of that punch. So I'm going to increase the attack quite high and I'm just going to play them kicks just to see where it's hitting. So about there's all right. The ratio is going to determine how much compression you want to happen, and then the gain is the makeup gain. So we're only decreasing it by like 1 dB, 1 and a bit. So about there is fine. So now I'm going to export this and see what it looks like. So it's looking a bit punchier, but it's still not the same. So the shape's changed a little bit because we applied the EQ and all of the other effects. Now I'm just going to drag this in again, and you could stop at this point. You could export this kick for your pack, but what a lot of people do to get the kicks sounding a lot louder in the pack is they'll boost the volume again. So I'm going to assign this to a new mixer channel, apply another soft clipper, and then I'm going to boost the volume. So I've assigned it to a new mixer, I've added another soft clipper, and then I'm going to use the boost button just to boost it real loud. And then I might even shorten the kick a little bit, so just increase the out. And now you're getting that real punchy drill kind of kick. The problem with this is if people don't really like that hard-hitting soft clip sound, then you can't really reverse it at this point because you've overdone it with the clipping. But it will sound loud when you're playing through the kicks in the pack. So it's up to you. If you want to save it like that, that's cool. But if you want to give people some flexibility, then save it before it's been harshly clipped and then they've got more room to play with. But for this one, I like the sound of it. So I'm just going to open Edison again and record it. So then when I've re-exported it, you can see that the shape's changed and it's looking a bit more like the first one. Now, if you want to push it even further, what I see a lot of people do is boost it again, and then they'll right click from here and click save as, and then just save it in the folder. Because now when you drag that sound into FL, it's going to look like this. So I actually did that with the first one. You can see it looks quite similar. So in the pack, I did a mix. I did some which are harshly clipped just because I like the sound of them, and it means that you don't need to do anything else for them. And then some of them, I just gave you a bit of headroom, some more room to play with. But if you don't have Serum and you want to know how to do it in stock plugins, then I'm going to show you in Citrus. So the first thing that you want to do is come up here and just go to default. And this is going to go back to the default settings, which is a sine wave. And that's the one that we want to use. So then go to main and just bring down the pitch. Go back to operator 1. So the operators are like oscillators. If you remember, we only used one oscillator, which is the sine wave. So just keep it in operator 1. And now what you want to do is adjust the volume envelope. So click on volume, make sure you're on envelope, and then turn the envelope on. And this is going to give you the shape of the sound. So similar to before, we're going to drag this back, bring this one down. This is the release, this N1. So you can use the dials down here. And then just play with the settings until the kicks, as long as you need it. So basically you need the sustain all the way down, the release all the way down, and then you can play with the decay. Once you've got the length of the kick that you want, the next thing that you want to do is go to pitch and then do the same. So if you remember before, we adjusted the pitch envelope. So again, I'm going to turn it on here and make it a similar shape. Release all the way down, sustain all the way down. And now you can hear that we've got a kick sound. So you can use your keyboard to find a tone that you like. And then Citrus does have some effects, but I like to use the other effects in FL. So I'm going to export this to Edison. So this is the kick that I've just recorded from Citrus. So I won't show you all of the effects again, but you'd follow the same process. So I'll bring this to mixer channel 1, which is where all the effects were. And then I could boost this up. And then you just want to play with the effects. So maybe I want more distortion. I could even try Wave Shaper. So you'll just have to go back and adjust everything until you like the sound of the new kit. So I hope you liked the video and I hope you took some gems from it. If you are feeling these sound design tutorials, then do let me know in the comments and I will continue the series. I'll probably do snares, claps and hi-hats next. And if you want me to work on anything else, then let me know. But I'll see you next time.
We'll be right back.